as you know, the West Tampa Community Development Initiative has been getting national attention related to its approach to neighborhood transformation. We've been asked, and this video is a response to give a demographic, provide the demographic information about the West Tampa community. So the West Tampa neighborhood consists of 3 zip codes: 33603, 33607, and 33609. The percent of African Americans that live in this in this geographic area consists of 18% of African Americans. So let's look at some more information related to the community. It has a population of 17,646. Again, this information is coming from city-data.com. This is one of many resources we use to get a true demographic picture of what's going on in the community. African Americans represent 18% of the population based on the most recent data in 2022. What's disturbing about this 18% that represent African Americans is the fact that the African American population has reduced since when I got here in 2021. There has been a substantially reduction in the African American population. One of the reasons why the West Tampa Community Development Corporation exists is to make sure that the African American community is not wiped out of the fabric of the West Tampa community. Look at these numbers, 18%. When we look at the age population in West Tampa has a fairly young age distribution. In fact, those between the ages of 15 to 25 represent the highest peak in terms of distribution by age, as this map shows, this pink line going all the way up to the top. That population represents 15 to 25. When we look at the median income in West Tampa in 2021, we see that the distribution, the median income ranges from those have less than 10,000 to those that have income ranging from 10,000 to 19,000 or 20,000 to 29,000, and that list goes on and on. But what this tells us, and what you're going to know later on, is that there's a significant population in West Tampa that live below the poverty level. In fact, before we get to that, I'm going to jump in and tell you 22% of the individuals that live in West Tampa live below the poverty level. Added to that, 18% of the residents in West Tampa consists of African American. You do the math. Who do you think represent that 22% of individuals that live below the poverty level? Another indicator that we look at when we look at our long range planning for West Tampa and the commitment to reduce gentrification, we look at the number of people that's paying rent and what those people who are paying rent, what are they paying in West Tampa? We know that gentrification occurs when the price of rent, one of the ways that gentrification occurs for those who are renting is when you have redevelopment. So we look at this as part of the master plan that we put together to deal with this as a focus to protect those who are in this category of rent starting at $100. This gives us a picture as to what does it look like? What are people paying for rent? And gives us a opportunity to get a look at long range plans as to those that will be affected the most immediate by the redevelopment and developing a strategy to address that issue. This just breaks down the number of people that's paying rent. It's almost unheard of, $179. Well, that just goes an example. What's more important is that as we begin to look at these numbers from less than 100 on down to 2,000, this gives the range of people that's paying rent. With the number of people paying rent in West Tampa hitting towards the $2,000, that's the fastest growing rents in West Tampa, $2,000. Again, when we look at these numbers here, people paying $100 in rent, $700 in rent. Clearly, this is going to impact the lives of these individuals. Again, as we begin to look at reducing gentrification intentionally and on purpose, we have to know the numbers related to those who will be most affected as we begin to put together that strategy to reduce gentrification. These numbers of people that's paying 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. These numbers represent people. The medium rent in West Tampa is $1,117. Y'all remember earlier when we talked about the people that are paying 500, 700, 900 and below? Well, this looks at the medium income. Some other numbers that might be interesting to you is a breakdown of males versus females and other data. Let's move to the next data set. A clear indicator that a community is not healthy is the educational attainment level. When we look at the educational attainment level for 2021 for West Tampa, notice this purple bar that's going all the way up. This represents those individuals who have less than a high school diploma. One of our strategies is to address this issue of this population by increasing their skill sets so they can earn the number of dollars necessary to to survive. That's how we reduce gentrification. So that's interesting. When we look at the West Tampa community, the number of people that do now have a have a have a GED, have a high school diploma. When we look at the housing situation in West Tampa, um, when we look at the value of detached houses in 2021, and of course, this represents 70% of the housing stock in West Tampa. Those units was going for 272,000. That's the housing price value compared to the city, which is $477,000 plus. 477,000 plus. This begins to look at the value of houses of values in West Tampa compared to the city as a whole. When we look at the travel time um, that it takes people to get to work in West Tampa, uh, these numbers right here represent that data set. As you can see, some people, a largest number of people only have 15 minutes to get. It takes them 15 minutes to get to their job. So this right here represents the number of minutes it takes to get to a particular job. This information is important also as we begin to put down strategy related to um, economic development. When we look at the means of transportation in West Tampa, again, these numbers are based on 2021. 67%, excuse me, um, people use one car. 21% of people walk to get to work. I was interested in looking at that. 23% walk to get to work, which means that the job is not that far away. 12% do carpool. 5.7% uses the bus. But let's look how that number look. In West Tampa, 460 people use the bus to get to work. That's why it's so critical that we begin to look at ways to increase the number of buses that are coming to West Tampa in order to get a residents in West Tampa to work. So as we look at transportation, I think this is very concerning to us. That population of individuals, that's 400 that live in community that will benefit from that conversation with our hotline to increase the number of buses that are coming in to West Tampa and the times that they're coming into West Tampa. Carpooling again represents a 12% percent in West Tampa, which is a good strategy as well. leaving time to work. When you get up, the time it takes you, that the time you have to get up in order to get to work. So time leaving home to work, this number represents those numbers starting at 5 a.m. forward. Look like most of the people in West Tampa have to get up at about 8:30 to get to work. Have to be out and ready by 8:30 a.m. This is important again as we begin to look at economic development in West Tampa. We're looking at all these indicators, all these subsets of data and plotting the approach to economic development for the next 5 years. All of these numbers go into that. I'm just sharing it with you just to share some information about West Tampa if you didn't know about West Tampa. When we're talking about planning for the future in West Tampa, and its residents, from a community development perspective, we have to look at the education in the neighborhood. And this is interesting. Interesting. This first data set represents percent of people 3 years or older and K through 12 schools. Notice West Tampa represents 23%, while the city of Tampa is 15%. So we do have a young population in West Tampa. It's also interesting to look at when it comes to undergrad college students in West Tampa. According to these numbers coming from city data, 28% of the folks in West Tampa have undergrad college under their belt compared to Tampa, which is 7%. These are some other numbers. According to this, percent of people that live below the poverty level in Tampa, 22% plus residents live below the poverty level in West Tampa. Our approach to changing these numbers around is what we call a comprehensive, holistic, and integrated approach to transforming communities like West Tampa. This represents the numbers that you've been asking us for as to our understanding of where the most critical issues are in our community. This is only part of probably many data sets and data points that we could have presented, but I think this is most relevant. Because the first thing we have to do in terms of putting together strategy for a neighborhood, we have to be able to know what does it look like. Who? This provides us with a data set, again, to be consistent with our view that as we begin to transform West Tampa, we use a data-driven, solution-oriented approach to transformation.